Have you ever wondered what would happen if you pushed your luck, like really pushed it? I'm not talking about with your job or your health, but with the actual rules of existence. What if the consequence wasn't just some penalty, but you literally got kicked out of your own body while it was still alive and walking around? Okay, let's dive into this wild and pretty fascinating scenario.
So this is the mess our main guy Evan is in. And what's kind of wild here is how upfront he is about it. He wasn't hit by some random cosmic curse. Nope, he misused his energy. But what does that even mean? And how could the punishment be that extreme?
All right, so let's start at the very beginning of Evan's spiritual eviction. He's suddenly a soul just watching his own life play out from the sidelines. And at first, he is not taking any responsibility. In fact, he's got a whole list of excuses ready to go.
He's blaming society, his teachers, his friends, even says the cosmic rules weren't clear enough. He even admits he was skipping his daily reviews. You can think of those like spiritual check-ins. All because he was out partying too much. You know, it's that classic move of blaming absolutely everyone but himself. But his friend Abby, she's not having any of it.
And boom, Abby just calls him right out. He was warned. People tried to guide him. He just decided to ignore all of it, thinking the only real rule of free will was, well, don't get caught. But he did get caught, and the consequence wasn't just a slap on the wrist. It was the creation of something pretty monstrous inside of him.
So, what is the consequence of all this misspent energy? It doesn't just, evaporate. It actually gathers together and forms something called the dweller. And this is where things get really creepy.
The dweller is basically the living, breathing result of all his bad choices, his addictions, his false beliefs. It's literally a part of his soul now, a shadow self that he can't just wish away. It's not some demon from the outside. It's an internal debt that has come to life. And this description just paints a horrifying picture of what that debt looks like. It's a blob covered in these insect-like feeders with a dark force field and swirling ghosts all around it. I mean, this isn't just a metaphor. It's a real, animated corruption that Evan is now stuck with, even outside his own body. So the big question is, how did it get this bad? Well, it all comes down to a fundamental misunderstanding of a major cosmic law.
This brings us right to the heart of the lesson in Evan's story, what free will actually is. And it turns out it's not the unlimited, do-whatever-you-want pass that he and maybe a lot of us thought it was.
So is it? We tend to act like it is, right? But in this world, every single choice has a consequence that can either open more doors for you or, and this is the important part, it can slam them shut. Let me show you a couple of really cool analogies that explain this.
Okay, imagine your soul starts out like a cello. You have the potential to play any note, any subtle sound in between. You have total freedom. But every time you misuse your energy, it's like a note gets snapped off and you're left with the fixed keys of a piano. Now, you can still play music, sure, but your range, your freedom has been limited by your own choices.
Or think about it like an artist. You start off with this huge palette, every color you could possibly imagine. But with each bad choice, a color is taken away, until finally, all you have left is a pencil and a plain white piece of paper. You haven't lost your ability to create, but you've lost the tools, the very freedom you once took for granted.
And this right here, this is the absolute key. You can't just say sorry or ask for a do-over to get your colors back. You are the musician who messed up the instrument's tuning, so you're the only one who can tune it back. Personal responsibility isn't a punishment, it's the actual mechanism of free will. So how in the world do you start to retune a soul?
Well, this leads us to the process of actually paying it all back. And it's not a quick fix. It's a pretty scary spiritual equation called the tenfold reset.
Yep, you are seeing that right. 10 times. To balance the scales, Evan has to experience 10 times the amount of suffering that he caused. They say this is the only way to purify all that corrupted energy that's clogging up his soul's energy centers, or chakras, and basically reset those negative vibes. And this debt isn't just one big thing. It gets broken down into 3 different types. First, you have the obvious one, actions. The actual physical harm you cause. Then there are feelings. Think of this like negative emotional energy, like holding on to anger or jealousy. But the one that's really interesting here is the first category, thoughts.
This is where Evan's biggest problem really started. He chose to live in a world of fantasies, like the idea that he could get perfect grades without studying or party all night with zero consequences. And these weren't just harmless daydreams. They were false beliefs that were literally polluting his mind, twisting his view of reality, and letting him justify all his bad choices. He was just so busy believing what he wanted to be true that he totally ignored what was true.
So Evan is facing this massive, almost impossible debt. He's at his absolute lowest point. And it's right here, in this moment of total weakness, that he faces his final test, a choice between the really hard path of truth and a dangerously easy-looking shortcut. A tempter shows up, a smooth character named Sir Pent, and he offers Evan the one thing he wants more than anything, a backdoor pass right back into his body. No suffering, no paying back the debt, no work at all. Just a simple, easy deal. It's the ultimate fantasy, right? A consequence-free escape.
And this slide just lays out the choice so perfectly. On one side, you have the easy lie. Just bypass all the rules, follow this tempter, and plant even more lies deep in your soul. On the other side is the hard truth. Face your debt head-on, accept responsibility, and start the long, painful work of retuning their own soul, earning your way back.
And in this one moment of amazing clarity, Evan makes his choice. He says no to the shortcut. After a whole life of choosing the easy fantasy, he finally, willingly, chooses the hard truth. He gets it now. Taking the easy way out would just be one more lie, making his debt even bigger. That one single choice, that act of profound personal responsibility, of choosing reality over another illusion, that's what finally clears the way for him. The choice itself was the first and most crucial payment on his debt. By finally embracing the truth of his situation, he earned the right to go back to his body and start the real work of healing.
Evan's story is, of course, a pretty dramatic allegory, but it leaves us with a really powerful question to think about. We all have them, those convenient little fantasies or beliefs we don't really examine, the ones that make life seem simpler or let us off the hook. So the question to maybe ask ourselves is this: what easy lies are we telling ourselves, and what hard truth might we be avoiding?